Welcome. Welcome. Welcome, Connie. Welcome, Angela. Welcome, Zoe.
Well, hi.
Hi. Welcome. Hi, Zoe.
Hello.
Welcome, Angela. I don't know if you can hear me yet, but welcome. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see the welcome? Perfect. Awesome. This is being recorded for future use. So, yes, welcome. We'll give just a few more moments. Cool.
I'm going to go off camera to support my self-care with Zoom fatigue for a day full of meetings.
Absolutely, Zoe. Perfect. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions in the chat as we go, and I'll try to keep my eye on that.
Thank you.
Welcome, Shannon. I don't know if you can hear me yet. Perfect. A couple more moments for people to arrive. It's awesome. Welcome. All right. As I said, this is being recorded, so hopefully you can see me. If I can't see you, hopefully you can see me. And hopefully you can see me because I'm holding this rusty wire, and you will find out why in a few moments. So as you can see, it's a rusty wire. All right, let's begin. Thank you for coming. And for a moment, just listen. What do you hear? Do you hear the ramblings of your world or the calm of your spirit? What are you listening to? Have you ever thought of the word listening and what it means? Have you ever thought of the act of listening being a healer? I know the story of listening because listening actually saved my life. And it is fitting that I'm telling it as a story today, because I am a filmmaker and storyteller, and the origins of story actually come from a Renaissance where people were hungry for community and for an answer to their loneliness. Story came as an answer, actually. And most importantly, the way that story was and still is told created community and healing. But before I begin, I just want to thank National Hope Talks for this opportunity to be with you and to meet with you and connect with you today, and preface everything by saying that what I am talking about is going to be on the screen. Feel free to take notes as we go, and there will be opportunities to have some discussion a little later on. As you can see, I am holding a twisted, rusty wire to abide by an ancient storytelling tradition. The person who speaks is holding a symbol. Those listening still in today's storytelling circles are expected to respect the person and who is holding the symbol, and they do not interrupt no matter what. The symbol reminds them to do that. And this is how storytellers practice the art of listening. And I invite you, wherever you are right now, to choose your own symbol. It can be anything. It can be a pen, it can be a spoon, it can be anything. And lay it in front of you when you have it available. And I'll give you just a few seconds to choose that. So choose anything. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, anything in front of you. Do that now. And also be sure that you're on mute. It's just important, just check to see that you're on mute. And when you speak, if you choose to speak, you can definitely unmute and we'll go from there. Thank you. Today, because we are talking about listening, and because I will be sharing story, I will be the first to hold my symbol. And I would like to ask you to intentionally listen to what I have to say because I have my object. Then and when there is opportunity to talk, I will put mine down and you will pick yours up. And same thing will happen when we're sharing in buddies later. When you tell your story, just know that you are not expected to tell any story that you are not ready to share. Just tell what you are ready to share. And it doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be a lot of information. It can be a funny story. It can be any story. Just share something so that we can practice the art of listening later on. And I am here for support if you need it. As my favorite storyteller, Dan Yashinsky, one of them, says, to tell a story well, listeners must be involved, and it is more a conversation than a monologue. And that is what this is today, a conversation. I will be talking a lot at the start, but then we will be having a conversation later. So if you're good with that, can I get a good in the chat? Are you good with that? Thumbs up. Okay. Awesome. So today in the story of listening, the true healer, because listening saved my life, it is important to look at the definition of listening. And Dan Yashinsky also says change begins when we listen to one another's story. And I like to say that change begins when we listen, period. Fred Rogers, or Mr. Rogers, says, how our words are understood doesn't depend just on how we express our ideas. It also depends on how someone receives what we're saying. And I think it's the most important part about communicating is the listening we do beforehand. And I love that. In order to tell my story of listening, I think it would be helpful for us to talk about what listening really is. So this screen definition, according to Webster's dictionary, to listen means, and read with me while you're on mute, read with me, to hear what someone has said and to understand that it is serious, important, or true. It also means to pay attention to sound or to hear something with thoughtful attention. Now, these words are the keys to what I'm sharing with you today about listening and how it heals. And it is also key for what we will be practicing with each other later on. My name is Wanda Reinholdt, and I'm married to a wonderful man, John Reinholdt, for 21.5 years now. We live east of Strathmore on his family's farm, and John works as a crop insurance adjuster, and together we own Reinholdt Productions and have been telling stories since 2000. We both write and produce, and I am a director. We help business owners, corporate leaders, television and film producers, and individuals find story solutions which encourage mental wellness and provide a production house that creates them on film and stage. My skills in listening and connecting with what is a true story is central to our unique service. And we have 15 godchildren now, and our home is a loving place, providing a safe haven for anyone who needs it. So why me, and why did I decide to tell the story of listening? And since I was about 3 years old, I began to experience neglect. And neglect is traumatic and is the opposite of listening, actually. Listening is actually the answer to neglect. So what is neglect? Read it with me while muted. Neglect means to give little attention or respect to. It means to disregard, to leave undone or unattended to. That is the opposite of listening. Now, one of the ways that I was neglected was I was expected to know things innately that I was not taught. And if I did not follow these unwritten rules, I was punished. I was made fun of in front of others because I was chubby, told often that I was sick in my head. And later on, I was punished because I was not educated well enough, not pretty enough, not popular enough. My parents, my schoolmates, my colleagues did the best that they could with what they knew. And much of what I experienced was unintentional neglect. But as a child who was looking for her parents and her world to give answers and provide a safe place to belong, these experiences hurt me and left me feeling very alone. And bullying is not listening. The sad thing is that even though I knew bullying was not listening from a very young age, I too was starting to learn to judge and disqualify others from my listening ear. And when I did that, I turned off. And as a result, I miss out on things, the best things in life that God has to offer us. And I believe that's true for any of us when we judge or disqualify. In other words, say this with me while muted. Neglect is to give little attention to or respect to disregard. Listening is a way that we can instead connect, understand, and learn. It is a way to healing. It is the answer to neglect. How do I know? Because even though I was bullied and emotionally and creatively neglected both at home and school from a very young age, somehow I made it. The main reason I made it is because someone listened. First, God listened. Now, I know maybe some of you do not believe in God, and that's okay. I do. I spent lots of time in my bedroom while growing up, mostly because I was sad, I was feeling alone, misunderstood, or hurt. And I was praying to God, the ultimate listener, in my mind. Each time I would pray, I would gain strength to continue. And one of my favorite verses is Hebrews 13:5. I will never leave you. I will never leave you. Thumb points to me. Of course, the neglect and the lack of inconsistent intimacy in some of my key relationships had a great impact on me. It was very confusing. So lack of consistent intimacy, that's what I wanted to say. It was very confusing. I had parents who told me they loved me and they did their best for me. They provided for me all the things that I could ever want. They hugged me. They told me they loved me. Yet when I expressed the hurt inside or expressed something out loud, I was treated very differently from what I thought was loving. And it was so hurtful, but there was nothing I could do with it as a child. And to top it all off, I went to school and I was bullied there. Everywhere I went, I was stressed and in pain. And as far back as I can remember, I knew that there was something better. And I believed it's because of the power of prayer and God in my bedroom that I believed this. Thankfully, eventually, I started to find others who would start to listen to me and hear me. And there were beginning pieces of healing of me starting to happen as they listened. I started seeking counsel when I was very young. I had some church friends who mentored and loved me. In addition, my violin and piano teachers were tremendous at loving me and encouraging me. And through college, I found other people who listened, counseled, encouraged me. And when I finished college, I saw cognitive therapists. But over and over again, the intensity of the trauma that I experienced was just not leaving my body and my heart. And then I got married to John, and although it was the most loving situation and most empathetic situation, we had some further trauma due to some past things in John's life. And I was responding out of pain in my work. We could not have children naturally, so we were disheartened and we were grieving. And as a result, I could not function, let alone work. And with this stress on top of everything else, my body basically stopped working and I was burnt out, unable to get out of bed, and had to actually quit work in 2002. This was deeply troubling to me because I knew that I needed to find an answer. And eventually I found a naturopath who listened. And he helped me get on a better road physically and to self care. I'm happy to say that I started deep healing because my home life with John was the best and the safest I had ever had. God knew I needed John. He's a great listener. He has taught me the art of rephrasing and empathizing through sharing a similar experience to show understanding. He taught me what it was like to be truly heard and listened to. And then in 2007, I was injured in a drunk and drug driver accident. This was deeply life changing for me. One where my life uh, just immediately imploded when the cars collided. But I felt a holy presence immediately. And there was a song, a childhood song that came to my mind immediately called Don't Be Afraid. And it flooded my mind. And all I can tell you is that when the cars landed in the ditch, a woman's voice with bright light around her came and said, "You're going to be okay and you're not alone." And I was just rushed to Foothills Hospital. I had surgery on a repaired crushed ankle. And I God was with me answering my prayers. So prior to the accident, I was consumed with my own pain of neglect. I was pointing fingers and blaming and keeping score. And then after my surgery, I had to elevate my ankle, had home care, used a walker, dealt with vertigo and flashbacks, and had physio. So I had a lot of time to think. And during this time to think, I began to see the walkers, the canes, the wheelchairs, the amputees, the sick. I began to listen to their pain. I began to see the struggles. I began to respect their struggles. And as the Grinch says, my heart grew 6 sizes that year so that I wanted to help and I wanted to support and listen. So just like the friends, teachers, colleagues, professors, and my husband who listened, this accident was another answer. And it helped me to desire to listen and to be grateful and to have something to focus on other than my neglect. So I invite you in this moment to come off your mute and just tell me briefly, what are you hearing so far? Come off of mute and tell me, what are you hearing? What are you learning about listening? And I will put down my twisted rusty wire and listen to you. Shannon, Connie, Angela, what are you hearing?
Hi, Wanda. It's Connie.
Hi.
Hi. I'm hearing that that the listening, you have to be. I don't know what that is. Okay, you have to be present to really listen, and it seems that you had a supportive family growing up. That part really interests me a lot because I think a lot of kids are in that situation in those times. Like I know you're not my age, but kids were shuffled off and put outside. Parents really didn't listen. So
Yeah.
you are dealing with something similar to that, but it's resonating with me.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing, Connie. Shannon or Angela?
As far as what I'm learning about listening is it's important to hear the whole story and
Mm.
not just take little pieces of it, but to hear all of it, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it stuck with me. I just love that you played the piano and violin. I learned something new about
Thanks, Angela. Shannon, do you have anything to add? I'm going to pick up my wire now and move on. So why is neglect so painful? You know, what happens when there is neglect? Well, my parents and my schoolmates and colleagues did not know how to award me fully for my opinions or my expressions or my emotion. And I am no longer holding them responsible for that, but a very big part of my person was rejected and ignored. And this has had huge consequences in my life. And here are the consequences of neglect on your screen. I've experienced each and every one of these, and these are the reasons that I believe it's so important that we learn how to listen. Increased doubt and fear, stunted expression and increased inhibition, deep hurt, great confusion in the mind and heart, prevented from authentic connection with others, increased isolation, decreased intimacy, and sometimes eliminates intimacy, decreased communication skills. So do you see why I chose this twisty wire? The wire represents a human story, my story. In anyone's story, just like mine, you will find both pain and joy. And like each of us, this wire is both very useful and valuable. And it has so many great qualities, including flexibility, strength, durability, and it is both creative and practical while also experiencing neglect, as shown by the worn and rustiness, which is probably hard for you to say, but it is rusty and worn. There is a story about a young boy who was at a storytelling event with his mother. And when it came time for someone new to be the storyteller, he made his move. He picked up his symbol and he held it in his hand while he started to share great rage towards his mother and others. And although it was very tempting for the rest of the people who were listening to his story to try to fix his situation and his feelings, the listeners simply stayed in their seats and allowed him to express what he was feeling. And understanding and healing began for that boy that day. So I ask you, what are you listening to? If pain is your primary thought, I encourage you today to seek listeners, people who love you and respect you. Seek understanding and counselors from listeners like and professionals like Dr. Paul Day. Dr. Paul Day is in Calgary. He's a great therapist. It is a choice to remain in that pain. Find release and healing through listening. He's a great listener and it will change your life. Or find somebody that you trust. When we really listen, when we really seek to understand and hear one another, when we pay thoughtful attention to another, that is when we heal. That is when what is being shared becomes wealth. And that is why I experienced neglect. Although very, very painful, it was one of the greatest gifts I could have been given. And it is my vision and my goal to change the world one listener at a time. What's exciting is that part of my story is already out there in the world, uplifting people to mental wellness. An early prevention suicide film I wrote and directed called Are You Listening is on TELUS Optic, TELUS YouTube, and on the TV channel Solflix now, as well as in one of Alberta's prisons. It was nominated for a Calgary Stinger Award and several nominations for commendations from festivals. And our Facebook page is there. Another one of my movies, Reflections, when it's no longer, created to assist individuals with talking through loss and grief, is previewed on our website, will be released soon. We're looking for funders to complete the marketing and distribution of that piece. And my piano CD, which is called I Can Listen All Day. I'm holding it up here if you can see it. is a musical tribute to my family and the faith and inheritance I received. And we also have created a listeners community for anyone who needs support around the important topics of our films, and you can join for free there. A summary of what a great listener is. I'm so grateful to God and for the listeners that were in my life, including myself, for listening. I'm so grateful to my life and to the people in my life for helping me learn the story of listening. A great listener is not judgmental, is ready to hear, does not interrupt, is committed, is open and teachable, trustworthy, safe, offering their best, gives credence and importance to, shows grace, shows empathy and understanding, pays attention and is present, creates clarity and forward movement, provides skills, tools, and ideas, persistent, loving, mirrors. When the speaker is done, if possible, he summarizes what he has heard. Again, what are you hearing? What are your thoughts? Pick up your symbol that you have in front of you. I will put mine down when I speak about this. What are you hearing? Any thoughts? Any shares? Come off mute and share what you're hearing. Any more thoughts? You can put them in the chat as well. Well, if there are no more thoughts, I'm going to move into time where we're going to demonstrate the power, healing power of listening in pairs. So non-listening happens all the time. We don't have to demonstrate how to not listen. So let's take a few minutes to practice actually listening. And the good news is that a true active listening can actually be learned. And storytelling practices like holding a symbol is actually one of the most powerful ways to truly listen. So, and one of the ways to truly help one another help us understand one another is holding a symbol and having something in our hands so that we know what we are talking, and then somebody else picking up a symbol and showing that they are talking. It's one of the most powerful ways to learn how to actively listen. So I would encourage you to have your storytelling object with you now. Like I say, a pen, a cup, a phone, a piece of paper, something you can hold. And I'm going to put you into breakout rooms with another person. And I will be pairing up with someone as well here. And we can definitely learn to listen to one another without any judgment, with no fixing. And we are going to listen for support, and that is actually enough. The stories we are telling can be anything that we want to share. Like I said before, this does not have to be deep, but it can also be deep if you want to. So whatever you want to share, you can share. All along, you'll be getting messages in your breakout rooms telling you what to do next. Simply follow those prompts to get the most out of this exercise. And here's how it will go. Be sure to exchange your names when you get into the room and choose the first person to listen, and the other person will hold their symbol. And after 3 minutes, we will have a summary for the listener of what they heard. And then the storyteller will confirm if they were heard, and then we will switch. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or, ask me now. Are there any questions about that? And there will be a wrap out. Okay, I see a possible question here. Okay. No questions. Okay. Here's storytelling in pairs. Okay. All right. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and we will begin. So hang on there. Okay, you should receive your breakout rooms. Shannon, you're going to be in the room here with me, okay? Shannon, are you there? Shannon? Shannon, if you can hear me. Oh, hi, Shannon. Okay. Thanks for the text. I got the text. Yes. So, because you don't have a mic, let's see, how could we do this? We could, how about I phone you? I'll phone you.
Hello.
Hi.
I have no microphone access on my
Oh,
phone.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That's why.
So you pick up your, would you be comfortable going with a little story here?
Yeah, I guess you caught me totally off guard as far as what this was. So it's like what kind of story? Like
It can be anything. It can be a story from what happened this morning. It can be anything. Anything.
anything?
I will put my symbol down and you pick yours up and
That's right. Okay, I got mine. All right, so last night, I heard this scratching sounds like crazy. It was kind of like, I have one cat that's in the laundry room because she's an outside cat, but it's too cold for her to be outside. And I thought that the dish, our inside cat, was playing and they were going back and forth with the dish, but it turned out that it wasn't. It was my son making popcorn. And I just decided, like, this is crazy. So when I came out of the bedroom, I startled him beyond. He was so startled that he went to his room and he never came out of his room, and I never seen him until this morning. That's how scared I had made him.
oh,
I could not. Like I said, he's 20-some years old, and I still feel bad about what I did. But I guess I came out of the room so fast that it completely startled him. That and he left the popcorn. Complete thing of popcorn was still in the kitchen counter in the morning, so he didn't even have any. But we talked about it this morning, and all is good. So, but anyways, it's something I'm going to remember for a long time.
wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the first storyteller is done. Are you complete then,
Yeah,
Shannon?
that's the end of my story. Yeah.
Okay.
So I probably have to go because I have to go back on Zoom to get you.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do my story. So stay on the phone. We'll do my story, and then yeah, I'll let you know when we go back into the yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm picking up my object now. You put yours down, Shannon, and I'm going to try to summarize what I heard. Okay, just let me give some instructions here for the listeners. Okay, so I am going to summarize what I heard you say. So what I heard you say, Shannon, is I heard that you scared the living daylights out of your son this morning, and totally unintentional, and scared him, and it sounds like it scared him so much that he was in his room all morning. So yeah, it sounds like it was quite the fright. So yeah, so I'm gonna put my symbol down now and ask you, is that correct?
Absolutely. It would happen last night, though.
Oh, last night. Okay.
Yeah, that's totally 100%. I've never scared him like that before ever in my life.
Do you feel heard, Shannon?
Absolutely.
Super. Okay, I'm just going to give some more instructions. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my symbol now and I'm going to tell my story. And you are going to put your symbol down and listen to my story, and then you will summarize at the end just like I did, okay?
All right.
Cool. We this past year, we took my mom on her dream trip, or she took us on her dream trip to Australia and New Zealand. We went in January, and when we were coming back, we experienced the start of COVID in Hong Kong. They were starting to wear masks there. And anyway, on our trip, we experienced some significant indications that my mom was experiencing Alzheimer's or something like that. So when we came back, we were right away, we were into doctor's appointments and into getting her assessed and all of that. And ended up all this year with COVID, ended up doing tremendous things as a family. We got her assessed. She does indeed have Alzheimer's. Her diagnosis is Alzheimer's. And we were able to have her here at my house part-time and have her live with her part-time at her place. And we were able to pack up her house. We were able to get an assisted living place for her to live. And my brother had to have surgery in the midst of all of it. And he couldn't do the lifting like he usually does. And so I was the lifter and he was the organizer. We just made it work. And it was just so inspiring now to look back at this story that we have of how we came together in the midst of so many regulations and so many, and I am just so grateful that we just came together as a family. We just did. And it's just so cool how we were able to do this. And I am just so, I keep being so thankful for that. My mom is doing well. She's safe. They've had no COVID issues where they are. And yeah, so that's my story.
Okay. Would you like me to summarize that? What I heard?
Just give one moment here, and I've given them a 1 minute heads up
Okay.
to get their story done. Yeah. Okay, Shannon, I've put mine down and you can pick yours up and summarize.
Okay. Okay, so I heard that God blessed you with the opportunity to be with your mom in Hong Kong, and you were able to realize that she was in need of some attention that could be the start of Alzheimer's. And when you got back home, you were lucky enough to get her into the doctors, have her assessed, and realized that she was unable to stay in her place anymore. And you had the support of your brother. And during COVID, we're able to put her in a safe place that she's now able to be cared for while she's experiencing this unfortunate dilemma to her life that has happened to her. So that's what I heard.
Okay, I'm just going to send a message over. So one thing to add to your summary is the question, did you feel heard, Wanda?
Oh,
So
I see. Did you okay, sorry.
no, you're doing great.
Yeah, did you feel heard, Wanda?
If you would have been in a breakout room, the reason I did this is because I have to send messages to the other breakout room. So if you would have been in a breakout room, you would have had all the instructions given to you. So that's why I'm saying that. So yes, I did feel heard. I did feel heard. The only thing is that Hong Kong was only a stop along the way. Our trip was actually to Australia and New Zealand, but
That's right.
yeah, so that's the only thing. Yeah, absolutely. I do feel heard. Thank you very much.
So now I'll have to go back on Zoom, right?
Yes. So feel free to.
Okay, we'll hang up and then I'll just put the Zoom on.
Great.
Okay, great.
See you there.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back. So would it be possible for you to come onto video or at least take off your mute and let's just have a discussion around how that was. So what difference do you think it would make in our world if everyone was a great listener?
Well,
Shannon, feel free, since you don't have a microphone, to put it in the chat if you have an answer.
I'd be in heaven.
You'd be in heaven. Oh,
I think we all would, but I am a communicator. So that's like, that would be, well, that'll be heaven, right? That's what heaven's going to be like.
Interesting. Yeah. Heaven. Wow.
yes.
Excellent.
I was pleased to be in the group with Angela because she does love to talk, and I don't love to talk. So, but I love to listen, and we found that there were quite a few similar things in our lives, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was your experience with everyone, Connie, what difference would that make?
Well, they may, actually, it would probably make a difference for me because I don't like to talk, and I love to listen, but I know that it's important that I learn how to talk to a good listener as well.
Great. How was the experience in your room? Because there was an odd number of us, I couldn't come and join you and watch. So, but because the other person had to go for some reason. So, how was the experience in your room? Did you feel heard?
I did, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
And what made that for you? What's the reason you felt heard?
Well, I don't know. Angela was very easy. Like she made me very comfortable right away. I wasn't sure whether I should start or what, but she said, "Oh, let me, I will start." And so that put me comfortably. It took some pressure off, and I was able to kind of relax and yeah, it was good.
Good.
I definitely reflecting does work. It's one of those things that feels weird when you do it. I know that in all the parenting books I read or marriage books that you read, they often talk about reflecting, and sometimes you can roll your eyes, but to hear somebody repeat back things that you had said does make you feel heard, right? And then also Connie was really good at finding, like we had said, that we have some similarities in our stories, and so she found places where she could relate to my story, and I think that always makes you feel heard, because you know that then they know where you're coming from, and they even know more of this, probably know a bit more of the story without even you saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, great. Super. Yeah. Yeah, so it's with Shannon. Shannon doesn't have a mic, so Shannon, I hope it's okay if I speak for our group. Yeah, so for us, yeah, it was, we told, little stories. They weren't that deep. They were little stories, but still telling them was powerful, because we were heard about those little things. Like Shannon told a story of something that happened this morning, and I told a story about something that happened on a trip with my family. So, it doesn't have to be deep in order to feel heard. And that's what I got out of my time with Shannon today. Shannon, thank you so much for texting me and letting me know that you didn't have a mic and that we could share some story together. It's great. So, yeah. So this is the kind of listening that we're going to be practicing in our listeners community for our films, and have been starting to. So, yeah, just a place where we let the air out of the balloon. I don't know if you've heard that, but it actually helps our brains. It actually shifts our brains when we hear ourselves talk. What happens is it shifts us from fright and flight to a release. There's a release chemically in our brains. And so it's very important to learn how to talk, and very important to be in a safe place where you're listened to. Did you feel safe?
I did.
Angela, did you feel safe?
I realized I was on mute. Yes, I did. I felt very safe. Yep.
Good. Super. And that's the whole point, is being safe. Yeah, so I just want to say to you, thank you for being fantastic listeners today, and for coming and sharing this time with me. is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, not me.
No, thank you so much, Wanda. It was wonderful to sit in here. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining today.
Mhm.
And I see a message here. Great, super. Well, thank you, everyone. And yeah, it's going to be shared online. It's going to be available for other people to learn the story of listening. So feel free to share that. I don't know when they'll have it up on the website, but I will be letting people know once it's there. So yeah, perfect. Thanks for joining me today and for practicing listening. And
Thank you.
have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. And bye.
Bye.